On an empty scene in Wings 3D, begin by pressing right click and creating a cube, left click, select the entire cube, select faces, right click, inset, look at the top left and hold the control key down while moving the mouse to the right and take it down 60%, right click again and select intrude and take it down 0.6. That will mean that these inner corners will be all meeting. I don't want 3 corners in the space of 1 corner, so select the entire object, right click and clean up. Press space to deselect, select the edge tool, select an outer edge, press I for identical, G and then C, and that will get this ready for loop cutting. Right click and loop cut. You can now see it's been split into lots of separate objects in the geometry graph here. Hide the one that's not selected, press space to deselect everything else, select face tool, select one of these inner square faces, unhide the corner and press I for identical, right click and rotate normal, hold the shift key down and rotate 45 degrees, select the entire object, right click and weld. At this point you press space to deselect everything, select edge tool and select 3 of these inner edges, so it's these edges that are pointing in towards the hollows, and then press G and switch to face, right click and you want shell extrude normal, hold the control key down and go out 0.2. We've now created an extracted surface. Deselect that in the geometry graph, select the cube and hit delete so you've only got the surface. Select that entire surface and smooth it once just by hitting the S key. At this point we want to switch to edges and we're going to store all this selection of edges, so go select and store selection, switch to corners and press C for connect, and that will have created a lot of connecting lines that we scattered about in a sort of partially random pattern. Now go back to the edges and go select and restore or recall the selection, and then go select and inverse, and that will give you all the new lines that have been created. Right click and bevel and just bevel them out a bit. So it might take a while because it's become quite a complex shape, so just bevel by clicking, moving the mouse to the right, left click. The next stage then is to extrude those. So click on extrude normal, hold the control key down and take them out 0.1, and then go select, inverse, minus key, right click, shell extrude normal, and this will create a lot of new objects. If you watch the geometry graph when it's done, I'm holding the control key down again, so I'm taking it out 0.1. Now there may be 1 or 2 spikes and some odd bits in the geometry, but hopefully that will be sorted out by smoothing this down a few times. So at this point you see all these new objects, just right click, well when you've selected the entire object mode, so main object mode, and just combine them all into one, so the object now comprises of 2 parts. But as I say, they're looking a bit crude, so select each of those 2 parts, right click, and I'm going to use Do Sabian Subdivision to start with. That may take a little while because the object's fairly complicated now, so just let that process, and then after that smooth it down once more, and we'll have a look to see whether we've got rid of any of the spikes there. So it's all selected again. I press S for the standard smooth, which is usually a bit quicker than Do Sabian one. Right, so that's now smoothed down. I'll press space and then entire object, select one of the objects, right click, I need to be on face mode, right click on material, give it a name, give it a colour, okay, and then swap to the other object, right click, name and colour, okay, and there you go. So this, by getting these lines that gradually split up, there's a bit of collision here and there, but otherwise it's quite interesting shape, and it didn't really take very long to make. You UV map it if you want to use it in something like Octane or Dash Studio, but you can use it straight away in Bryce without any problem with picture materials. Obviously procedural materials will work in all applications because they only conform to the 3D space rather than pictures which need to be wrapped around, hence the need for UV mapping, for which I would use UV Mapper Classic. So there you go, that's the end of the video, a new and somewhat curiously organic shape to play with there. Hope you found that interesting and you'll have a go at producing something like this in Wings 3D.